We should have seen it coming. But then again, maybe we never stood a chance. I still hear that voice in my head every time I wake up, echoing through the wreckage of what was once my home, my planet. There's a strange silence in the air now. It's the kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. The kind of silence that comes after a storm so violent, so catastrophic, that nothing remains but the debris of what was once a thriving world. I was there when it happened, the day humanity fell. It was a Tuesday, of all days. People were going about their lives, just like any other day. The sky was clear. Everything was normal. But in an instant, everything changed. The sky broke open, and from it came the ship's dot. The first wave hit without warning, hundreds of thousands of them, descending from the heavens like locusts. Bright, jagged ships that tore through our satellites and communications with ease. Within minutes, global networks collapsed. The world went dark. I remember the first explosion. It was like the ground itself had been ripped apart. A distant skyline, once full of life, now shrouded in a fireball of destruction. The chaos that followed was unimaginable. People ran. People screamed. But nothing mattered. We were nothing but ants beneath a boot. I was lucky, if you could call it that. I made it out of the city before the full force of the invasion struck. The military fought back. Of course they always do, but this enemy, they weren't like us. They didn't care about honor, about rules. Their weapons were unlike anything we had ever seen. They could level entire cities with a single blast. Our missiles couldn't even scratch their ships. Within hours, every major city on Earth was burning. The government went silent. No one knew what had happened to them. Was anyone even alive? I didn't care. At that point, it was just about survival. I found a group of survivor strangers at first, each of us bound only by the will to live. The only thing that kept us going was the same thing that kept humanity alive for centuries. Hope. Hope that somehow, somewhere, there was something worth saving. Hope that we would find a way to fight back. But hope is a fragile thing. And soon, I realized that even hope was in short supply. As the days dragged on, I watched as the world crumbled. Refugees fled the cities. Governments fell apart. The invaders didn't need to strike again. We were already killing ourselves. People turned on each other, hunting for food, for safety, for something to cling to in this new, dark world. It was every man for himself. But I refused to give in to that. Even as everything around me burned, I couldn't let that be the end. I remember that night. It had been 3 days since the invasion, and the group I was with had made camp in a ruined apartment building. We hadn't heard any explosions in hours, but the silence was suffocating. Some of the others slept, but I couldn't. Not with the sound of their ships still echoing in my ears, their alien laughter. I kept thinking about how quickly everything had fallen apart, how fragile we were. Then I saw a glimmer of movement through the broken glass of the building's window, a figure, cloaked in shadow, creeping through the wreckage. My heart skipped. Were they one of the invaders? Had they come to finish us off? I grabbed my rifle and moved toward the broken wall, trying to stay as quiet as possible. My fingers trembled, not from fear, but from something else. The adrenaline that always courses through your veins when you're on the edge of life and death. When I peered around the corner, what I saw wasn't an alien. It was a man, battered and bruised, his clothes torn. He wasn't alone, either. A small group of survivors huddled behind him, eyes wide with terror. They looked broken, but there was something else. A flicker of something. The man looked up at me, our eyes meeting in the flickering light of the burning city. And in that moment, something in me shifted. I couldn't just keep hiding. We couldn't just keep running. The only way humanity would survive was if we fought back. We had to. It wasn't just about saving ourselves anymore, it was about showing them what happens when you underestimate us. The man didn't say a word. He didn't need to. He had the same look in his eyes as I did. We both knew this wasn't over. We weren't going down without a fight. That was the moment I decided to fight. It wasn't a decision made out of heroism or grandeur. It was born from necessity. The world as we knew it was gone, and with it, the luxury of waiting. The only way forward was to push back. I didn't know how we would win. I didn't know if we even had a chance. But as I looked at that small group of survivors, I realized something else: we didn't have a choice. Humanity had been pushed to the brink of extinction. But we weren't done yet. If we were going to go down, we would go down fighting. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to turn the tide. But first, we needed to survive the night. The first lesson I learned after everything fell apart was this: Survival isn't about waiting for help. It's about creating your own chance to survive. It's strange, the way things change. One moment, you're just trying to get by, putting one foot in front of the other. The next, you're suddenly the person people turn to. A leader. Even if you never asked for it. I never wanted to be a leader. I didn't even want to survive in the beginning. When the world ended, I thought I was just another survivor, in a world of the doomed. But there's something about the human bends, it cracks, but it doesn't break. And in this fractured world, I found something that made me realize the fight was far from over. We'd lost everything. Our homes, our cities, our countries. The aliens were merciless, reducing us to mere scavengers in the ruins of what was, once, a thriving civilization. But the survivors, the ones who hadn't succumbed to despair or chaos, had regrouped. A small, disorganized group, each of us, carrying our own wounds, both physical and mental. There was no unity at first, no strategy, just instinct. But instinct alone wouldn't be enough to win this war. The others turned to me when the fighting began. Maybe it was because I was one of the few left who had seen combat before. Or maybe they just needed someone to believe in. I don't know. But the weight of their eyes, their expectations, was heavy. And though I hesitated at first, something inside of me snapped. There was no one else to take charge. And if I didn't step up, we'd die here, in the dark, with no hope. And so, I became their leader, not because I was the best, but because I was there. The first few weeks were a blur. Survival became a daily battle. We hunted for food, we built makeshift shelters, and we tried not to make too much noise. We couldn't afford to draw attention to ourselves. Every alien ship in the sky was a threat. Every movement outside our camp could be our last. We watched the skies, nervous and terrified, waiting for the inevitable day when they would come to finish us off. But then, one day, things changed. One of our survivors and engineer, or at least he had been before the invasion, discovered something we didn't know we had. A way to use alien technology. We had found scraps of their ships in the wreckage, and at first, they seemed useless alien tech, too advanced for our primitive minds to understand. But this engineer, this man who had worked with machines his whole life, saw something different. He'd begun analyzing the alien energy core, the propulsion systems, and something clicked. He realized that if we could reverse engineer just a small part of their technology, we could use it to our advantage. It wasn't much, just a fragment of their energy shields, something that could protect us from their weapons. But it was enough to give us a fighting chance. We weren't just scavengers anymore. We were learning. We were adapting. And for the first time since the invasion, I allowed myself to feel a glimmer of hope. That was when the real fight began. We started planning, strategizing. We had no choice. We couldn't defeat the aliens in a conventional fight. We didn't have the numbers or the weapons. But what we did have was ingenuity. We had our will to survive. And we had each other. Our first mission was small, nothing more than a reconnaissance of one of their outposts. We had no idea what we were walking into, but we knew we had to try. We had a team of 5 armed, with stolen weapons and makeshift explosives. We snuck out in the dead of night, using the cover of darkness to get close. We had no armor, no advanced technologies, just our wits and our willpower. It was one of the most dangerous things I'd ever done. We got close enough to their outposts to plant explosives on their power generators. We knew we couldn't take them down, but we could slow them down. Just long enough for us to regroup. Just long enough to give humanity a fighting chance. And when the blast went off, shaking the ground beneath us, I felt something inside me change. It wasn't victory, not yet. But it was the first step. The next few weeks were spent refining our tactics. We had to learn fast. We didn't have the luxury of time. Every day, more of the alien forces came to Earth, reinforcing their grip on our planet. The pressure was on. The stakes were higher. I started to feel the burden of leadership weighing heavily on me. Every decision I made meant the difference between life and death for these people. I could no longer just be a survivor. I had to be their hope, their guide. But the cost was high. Every mission we carried out meant more lives at risk. Every moment I led us further into enemy territory, I felt my resolve weakening. And it wasn't just the fear of failure that gnawed at me. It was the cost of defying them. The longer we fought, the more I realized there would be no going back. If we continued, we were either going to destroy them, or we were going to die trying. I thought about the family I'd lost. I thought about the world we'd lost. And I wondered if the price of defying the aliens would be more than any of us could bear. But as the team grew closer, as we took on bigger risks and bolder missions. I saw something I hadn't seen before in this world. Teamwork, unity. People who were once strangers now had a common purpose. And in that purpose, they found strength. We had a long way to go before we could defeat the aliens. But this was where it all began, with a small spark of resistance that turned into a fire. And no matter what happened, I knew this humanity would never go quietly into the night. There comes a moment in every battle when you realize it's not about the fight anymore. It's about what you're fighting for. And I'm fighting for everyone who won't get the chance to see tomorrow. The day had come. The moment we had prepared for the final strike. The all-or-nothing chance to take down the heart of the alien fleet. As we stood at the edge of our makeshift camp, gazing up at the sky, I could see their ships, hovering ominously. Above us, the invasion had spread like a cancer across the earth, and they had set up their command center on what was once the hub of human power, the heart of the planet's military network. It was heavily fortified, surrounded by layers of shields and armed to the teeth. But we had a plan. Our team, what was left of it, had trained for this day. We had spent countless hours working on the stolen alien technology, creating weapons that might just give us the edge we needed. But even with our best efforts, we were outgunned and outnumbered. The odds were stacked against us. Yet I had never seen my people more determined. We were ready. Or at least, we had no choice but to be.